Good day YouTube. Welcome back to another video of the evolution of the iPad part 1 of 2. So, let's get into that video.
It's been more than 10 years since Apple released the original iPad. Prior to its release, netbooks, which were basically an inexpensive alternative to laptops, were all the rage. And when Apple came along, they blew away the competition and revolutionized portable computing devices forever. This is part 1 of the evolution of the iPad. Seeing how popular they are now, you might be surprised to learn that Steve Jobs was initially against making a tablet device. In a 2003 interview, Jobs said,
and we think it's going to fail.
You think the tablet's going to fail?
Yes, we do.
What about the tablet as a reading device?
It's really true. If you've got a bunch of rich guys who can afford their third computer, they got a desktop, they got a portable, and now they're going to have one of these to read with, that's your market.
Well, luckily he changed his mind over the next few years, largely thanks to the creative genius of Jony Ive, Apple's former chief design officer. Ive set about creating a slimmer, more lightweight tablet compared to those available at the time. He presented his creation to Jobs, and the rest, as they say, is history. It was an excellent idea to greenlight the project too, since as of September 2020, more than 500 million iPads have been sold worldwide, and iPads continue to dominate the tablet market. There are currently 4 versions of the iPad, each with numerous releases spanning different generations. There's the standard iPad, the iPad mini, the iPad Air, and the iPad Pro. But let's start at the beginning and look at the iPad that kick-started it all on the 3rd of April, 2010.
And we call it the iPad.
In Apple's own press release regarding the first ever iPad, they hailed it as a revolutionary device for browsing the web, reading and sending email, enjoying photos, watching videos, listening to music, playing games, reading ebooks, and much more. Weighing just 680 grams or 1.5 pounds with a thickness of 0.5 inches, it was indeed lighter and thinner than any other laptop or netbook at the time. Apple settled on a 9.7-inch model after experimenting with many different sizes. Apple thought about adding handles to the iPad, but it's probably good that they scrapped this idea, or else it would have resembled a children's toy or TV dinner tray. Of course, the main highlight was the responsive high-resolution multi-touch display that let users physically interact with applications and content. In comparison to today's models, its specifications might not seem that impressive, but back then they were. Its price was reasonable too, costing $499 to own a 16GB version at launch, with the 32GB and 64GB models costing $599 and $699 respectively. 300,000 iPads were sold on the very first day it was released, and in less than a month, sales hit more than 1 million units. To put that into context, the iPhone took more than twice that time to pass the 1 million mark. By the end of 2010, almost 15 million iPads had been sold. Fun fact, it took less than a day for someone to jailbreak the iPad. Jailbreaking is the practice of modifying or removing restrictions imposed on a device by the manufacturer or operator. Basically, Twitter user Muscle Nerd hacked the iPad on the day it was released and posted evidence of it on social media. As impressive as this seems, it must have caused a slight panic for Apple and had them scrambling for a patch on day 1. In March 2011, a follow-up to the iPad hit store shelves. Besides the black model, there was now also a white model available. The iPad 2 was 15% lighter and 33% thinner. It featured a 0.3 megapixel front camera and a 0.7 megapixel back camera, whereas the original had no camera at all. It was also faster due to the dual-core A5 processor, which increased the speed of the CPU by up to 2 times, and the GPU up to 9 times, compared to the A4 chip in the original iPad. Although the iPad 2 had improved specifications, including double the RAM to 512 megabytes and the 2 added cameras, the price stayed the same. People could try the iPads in Apple stores, which helped to sell the iPads.
The number one reason people come to our stores is to try a product that they've heard about but never experienced firsthand. And the iPad is a product that has to be held, has to be touched to truly understand how magical it is.
Just like the first iPad, the iPad 2 also became a huge success, selling over 2 million units within a month.
Today, we're announcing the new iPad, and it is amazing.
Regarded as the new iPad, the third generation iPad was launched in March 2012. It was the first iPad to have a Retina display, which significantly increases the resolution of the screen.
It's got a resolution of 2048 by 1536. That's 3.1 million pixels, 4 times more than the previous iPad, and over 1 million more than what's called high definition on other devices. And we've packed all these pixels into a display that's just 9.7 inches. But engineering it wasn't as simple as just jamming in more pixels. A pixel is made up of red, green, and blue subpixels, with a signal telling each one when and how much to light up. That's how colors are created. But when you squeeze 4 times the pixels into the same space, signals can get crossed. Colors become distorted, and images get fuzzy. To solve this, we had to elevate the pixels onto a different plane and separate them from the signals. It's a major breakthrough. And it's the key to making the pixels so small and so close together that the human eye can't even distinguish them. So type looks razor sharp, and you'll see details in photos that you never knew were there.
It also had a significantly better rear camera, boosted to 5 megapixels and capable of capturing footage in 1080p at 30 frames per second. The iPad 3 had a new A5X chip, which increases the GPU by up to 2 times compared to the A5 chip. The memory was also doubled to 1 gigabyte. Annoyingly, for people who bought the iPad 3, though, it had the shortest production life of any iPad model. It was discontinued just 7 months after its launch, with the iPad 4 and later models adding the Lightning connector. This meant that the iPad 3 was the last one to use the old-style 30-pin dock connector. The iPad 4 came out in November 2012, with the same price structure as the previous iPad launches. However, in January 2013, a 128-gigabyte model was made available for $799. In addition to the Lightning connector, the 4th-generation iPad had an upgraded CPU, and the front camera was improved to 1.2 megapixels. Fun fact, although it is now hard to imagine, before the iPad was launched, many thought the name sounded like a feminine hygiene product, hence the nickname iTampon. Released alongside the iPad 4 in November 2012 was the first iPad mini. As its name suggests, it was a smaller model, with its display measuring 7.9 inches compared to the 9.7 inches of the iPad 4.
The biggest challenge that we faced was incorporating all of these great features in a much smaller and lighter device. In order to do this, every part had to be custom designed, starting with the display. The glass on the front and back are only 0.2 millimeters thin. The touch subsystem is a mere 0.12 millimeters thin. It weighs half as much as any we've ever done before.
Since the iPad mini had less space in its model, the specifications were lowered and it didn't have a Retina screen. It had the same CPU as seen in the iPad 2. The iPad mini was cheaper than the iPad 4, with a starting price of $329 for 16 gigabytes of storage.
Thinner, lighter, more powerful than ever before, and incredibly, excitingly new in so many ways that it deserves a new name.
In November 2013, the iPad Air was launched and started a new iPad line. I'm sure you've seen before and after pictures of people losing weight. Well, the iPad Air is exactly that. It's a thinner and lighter version of the standard iPad.
The iPad Air is so capable and powerful, and yet with its breakthrough size and weight, it's the thinnest, lightest, and also the most advanced iPad we've ever built.
It measured just 7.5 millimeters in thickness and was reduced in weight to only 470 grams, making it 38% lighter than the iPad 4. The iPad Air retained the 9.7-inch screen seen in previous iPad models, but Apple reduced the bezels surrounding the display by 43%. The device included all of the top-end features and applications seen in the models which preceded it, though Apple's then-new A7 chip allowed for quicker autofocus, higher video frame rates, and faster photo capture, among other things. Apple stated that the A7 chip is twice as fast and has up to twice the graphics power compared to its predecessor. The rest of the specifications were the same as the iPad 4, including the launch price. 1 year after the launch of Apple's first iPad mini, they released a follow-up that had a Retina display. This boosted the screen resolution to 2048 by 1536 pixels, which at the time was the highest resolution for a device of its size. The Mini's processor was upgraded to the A7 chip seen in the iPad Air and iPhone 5S, making it much faster than its predecessor. Besides the upgraded CPU and resolution, it also had double the RAM and a 128GB storage option. It did cost slightly more than the first iPad mini, though. Enthusiasts wouldn't have to wait long before the third installment of the iPad mini, which made its way to market in October 2014. Besides the previous colors, there was now also a gold color available. The most exciting feature was the addition of Touch ID, which allows users to unlock the device and make purchases using a fingerprint scanner. Other upgrades were very minor, though. It's fair to say that Apple were more focused on the successor to the iPad Air that year. We'll discuss that successor and all the other most advanced and recent iPads in the next part. So, please subscribe and
Thanks for watching and please subscribe. And also subscribe to Flat Life, the reviewer I got this video to react to the video. Thanks for watching. I see you in the next video.